Okay, so let's go over now. As you see, this is from Analytical Research Lab. So this is the laboratory that we use to do our hair analysis. Okay, now this has greatly helped Daniel. Okay, now I'm a practitioner of nutritional balancing, and I have an account with the laboratory. So that's my name. Um, Now, let's go over them. This was when Daniel was 2 years old. He's currently 11 years of age. Okay, this was dated October 20th of 2014. Okay, now what we see, we talked about our ratio. So far, we've talked about the calcium magnesium, which is right here. We've talked about sodium potassium, which is right here. Okay, quickly, let's go over these ratios. Calcium magnesium, that's going to give you an indication of your blood sugar tolerance. That's going to give you an indication of pancreatic hormone efficiency, of overall lifestyle efficiency. Okay. As you improve your lifestyle, as you improve your diet, your calcium magnesium ratio, which calcium, of course, is mainly in the bones. Okay. Magnesium is essential for the production of enzymes inside of the cells. Okay. Now, the ideal ratio is around 6.67. Okay. His first one, his ratio was 12. Okay. So it was 180% of the ideal. Okay. We look up here, we see calcium, magnesium. That gives you, oh, wow, kind of gets blurry. Okay. That gives you your raw data levels. All right. So that was out of whack. As you see here is ideal. We want to get as close to this little column as we can, right? Now, if you look at the next one, it's real low, right? That's low. So what is that? That's your calcium, potassium. And that is referred to as your thyroid ratio. Okay, so that's going to give you an indicator on how well your thyroid's functioning. Either it's overproducing or it's underproducing. Okay, so as we could see, his thyroid was not functioning properly. All right, potassium sensitizes the cells to thyroid hormone. Okay, and then of course calcium. Again, you see calcium again twice, right? Because calcium is also going to be important for the structuring of the cell wall. Magnesium is also important for the structuring of the cell membrane. All right. Your next one is your sodium magnesium. That's referred to as your adrenal gland ratio. Okay. So his is the ideal ratio be 4.17. Okay. The ideal for calcium potassium is 4.00. His is at 0.16. This is at 35.5. So this was overactive, right? Way up here, it's high. Okay. And then the sodium magnesium. Yeah, okay, we just went over that. That's the adrenal glands, okay? Now, the sodium potassium, we just did a video on that. That is known as your vitality ratio because sodium and potassium are both solvents. So, I mean, they dissolve the other minerals and chemicals, okay? It's like in a petri dish when you have a solution. You put something that is solid inside of a solution that is a solvent, it will dissolve it, okay? And your sodium potassium is related to your calcium magnesium because sodium and potassium will dissolve calcium. So that hard calcium deposits don't form, and then people end up getting kidney stones and things like that because there's formations of calcium not being dissolved because the sodium potassium ratio is out of whack. All right. So now let's look at this. Look how high the sodium potassium is. All right. Sodium is at 142. Now, when we see that where do we want you to be at? We want you to be at around 25, right there at that median level. Okay. We want our potassium to be right around 10. Okay. The potassium is at 292. Now, Dr. Wilson, he said that was the highest he had ever seen in 40 years of work. Well, At that time, it wasn't 40 years. 40 years, it was probably 35. Okay. That needed to drastically be improved. Okay. Now, we say, okay, well, he's got a lot of potassium. Potassium is necessary for the body. But as we talked about in previous videos, a mineral can be in an oxide form, which is detrimental to the body. Detrimental. Toxic potassium can cause a myriad of disorders. A myriad of disorders. Okay? Now, when you see toxic potassium that high, that basically means that pretty much every other oxide that can be imagined on this hair analysis is going to be present, even if it doesn't show up on the first test. Okay. Now you see that the iron is, it looks like it's at pretty good levels, right? Okay. But since he has toxic levels of potassium, aluminum, cadmium, nickel, you see now this nickel right here, this is an indicator that a person can be very, have issues with fear, have issues with nightmares, very negative, sad, over emotional, things of that nature. Okay. Copper, we see copper very low, but we know if we use a proper hair analysis interpretation method, we know that there's hidden copper toxicity in his body at this point in time. Toxic levels of manganese because it's in an oxide form. Okay. Phosphorus. Now, this is also an oxide form. Now, but the good thing though is having high phosphorus is a positive thing. But if it's in an oxide form, then it's not being fully utilized in the body. Okay, phosphorus is necessary for it's phosphorus. I can't remember at this point in time. We'll do a video on it. Okay, so this is before he got on the program. All right, now the program consists of lots of cooked vegetables. Lots of cooked vegetables, good sources of protein, and supplements. Okay, he's been taking supplements. When he was a baby, I think he only needed to take them once a day. But when the child becomes of school age, they take 2 doses of supplements. Okay, and your supplements are going to be things such as omega-3 fatty acids, calcium, magnesium supplement, a general multi-mineral supplement that has a certain ratio of mineral content to vitamin and mineral to mineral content that allows the body to readily absorb it. All right, so this is the next one I have of him at 5 years old. Okay, so you see in 2018. Now you see his potassium has gone down. Okay, his manganese. Let's see, did it go down? 0.141. It actually went up because the first one was 0.122. So when you see a level of a mineral go up, it doesn't mean that there's more in the body. That means that the oxide form or the form that was biounavailable and not able to be absorbed into the body, it's actually releasing from the tissues. So it releases out of the tissues because the person has been getting proper nutrition. All right. And as it releases out of the tissues, it shows up in the hair. Okay. And you see the aluminum. The aluminum rose, right? The aluminum directly affects, it affects all the organs, but it directly affects the brain. Okay. The aluminum went down. Okay. So we see an improvement of the release of aluminum. All right. We see an improvement. We see that the nickel has gone down, which that's an indicator since we have the release of manganese, which is what we call an amigo. It's an oxide form. We have the release of iron. Toxic iron has been released from the body. Now, the way I'm explaining this may not make sense because you have to have an understanding of how to interpret this. It's a whole, I'm going to say it's a science, but it is a science. It's a science on knowing how to interpret these hair analysis. Okay. And this is the next year. Okay. He's 6 years old. Now we see the potassium is starting to come down. A lot's been released. So he had 111 this time. Previous one was 139. Okay. Now, the sodium potassium ratio, let's see, it was 0.64 at this time. Now, the previous ratio was 0.44. What's it supposed to be at? What do we want it to be at? 2.50. So that's a far cry. All right. So now, nickel, still high, right? That's still being released from the body. Okay. But it's a lower. Now, when we have a phosphorus jump like this, went from 19 to 23, okay, now that's an indicator that an oxide form of phosphorus is being removed. Oh, I remember what it is. Okay, phosphorus is necessary for protein synthesis. Protein synthesis, all right? So when we see a drastic jump in phosphorus like this, from 19 to 23, that shows that there's an improvement in the synthesis of protein, meaning the production of proteins in the body, which, produce everything, tissues, cells, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, it went from 111 to 35. Okay, so it's starting to regulate. All right, it's starting to regulate. The sodium potassium ratio went to 0.77. Okay, now this is him at 7 years old. Okay, he's still got aluminum in there. That's it's going down because a lot of it is released. Okay, which causes better brain function. Now at 8 years old, he had a big dump. He had what we call a big toxic dump. Okay, so this will jump from 17 to 26. That's huge, huge. I mean, there was a large amount of oxide or biounavailable forms of phosphorus in his cells, in his tissues, right? Okay, so when it's biounavailable and it's not functioning properly, how is the body supposed to rebuild itself? How? Okay, now look at this sodium and potassium. Look how much this jumped up. See, we thought we were done. See, we were back down to 35 and 27 last time. We thought we were done dumping toxic forms of sodium and potassium. Nope, we weren't. It spiked up dramatically, okay, meaning that this was an intense time of healing and genetic upgrades for this child, okay? See, we see calcium, and this may be due to him eating too many carbs, right? Because if your calcium magnesium ratio is too high, it could be an indicator of eating too many carbs. Okay. So this is an amazing sign. I mean, toxic potassium has been the biggest oxide form of mineral in Daniel's body we've seen. Okay, and we've seen an aluminum jump as well. So this is a dump of aluminum. So that means his brain function is continuing to improve, especially with this phosphorus going up like this. Okay, that was an amazing jump. At age 8 is when he really began to heal. Okay, and this is at 10. Okay. So I'm missing, I don't have the one he did at 9, okay, but this was at 10, okay, and what do we see right here? We thought we were done dumping nickel, boom. Now, all this nickel releasing out of his tissues, nickel directly affects the brain, right? So a lot of negativity, a lot of sadness and oversensitivity and proclivity to having bad dreams. Okay, now these things will having lots of these heavy metals such as nickel in the body and aluminum and mercury and cadmium and lead. There was a time when he did a big lead dump too. Having these toxic metals in the body. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, I might not. I guess I don't have the one where he did a lead dump. These will attract demonic spirits, whether you believe that or not. And those demonic spirits will cause people to have panic and cause them to give up, cause them to be sad, cause them to have nightmares, and just have an emotionally negative aura. Okay. Now this is the most recent one he did at 11. We see he had another toxic potassium dump and another calcium oxide dump. So he's still dealing with these toxic forms of minerals. They're still being released out of his body, meaning he is still healing. Okay, so his genetics are being upgraded. All right. When we see all four of these, what we call macro minerals, the four main macro minerals, calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, when we see a pattern of them all rising on one test, that's an excellent indicator of genetic upgrading. Okay, because these nutrients, man, these minerals, they turn on, they activate the so-called junk DNA. Okay, they activate the so-called junk DNA. The epigenetic DNA that can be reprogrammed to be healthy, strong. Okay, so this is what we've accomplished in a span of at age 11. The first one was age 2, so that's 9 years, right? Okay, so we're going to do another hair analysis this summer, and over time we're going to do these presentations and these breakdowns, in more detail. Okay, and a little more professional in more detail. Okay, but I want you guys to see this because I want you to get your own hair analysis, and I want you to start taking the proper mineral supplements to balance your oxidation level. Oh, that's what we didn't go over. He's been a fast oxidizer, if you see that down there, his whole life. Okay, he's been a fast oxidizer so far. Okay, eventually, it's going to go to either mixed or slow. Okay, now fast oxidation, it sounds really good. Yeah, you can have an excess of energy, but the energy is not sustainable. So if you get on a balanced oxidation level, then your body will have more of a sustainable energy, and it would not be breaking down faster in its building. Okay, when we have a balanced oxidation rate, it's not slow or fast, it's just very balanced, right? Mid. You're able to switch between either or when the need be in your life. If you need to exude a bunch of energy at one point in time, then cool, you can do that, and then you go right back to parasympathetic state of nervous system, which is a slow oxidation. Okay. So, all right, 17 minutes. Let's go ahead and wrap this video up, and we'll go on to another one.